Heavenly timing. The universe has paused everything waiting for you to act. If you open this now, everything will realign instantly. My precious listener, something stirs in the unseen tonight, something vast, something divine, something carrying your name in radiant fire. Archangel Michael steps forward with a message that shakes the silence of the heavens. Heavenly timing. The universe has paused everything waiting for you to act. If you open this now, everything will realign instantly. These are not ordinary words. These are not the kind you hear and walk away from. These are the kind that shift destinies. The kind that appear at the exact second your spirit stands at a crossroads. Michael is not whispering, he is declaring. And when a declaration comes from the warrior of God, the atmosphere itself stops to listen. Right now, a divine pause surrounds your life. Not a delay, not a punishment, a holy stillness, a cosmic hold set by the Creator himself. Every blessing that has been circling you, every breakthrough that tried to reach you, but had no space to land, every miracle stretching its wings above your timeline, all of it is waiting for one thing: your next move. Michael shows a vision, like a clock suspended in the sky. Its hands are glowing, frozen mid-motion, as though time has inhaled and is waiting for your exhale. The message is simple but heavy. You have reached a moment where heaven will not advance without your permission. Think about that. Heaven, yes, heaven awaits you. The universe is not ignoring you. It's aligning for you, but it cannot complete the alignment until you take the step destined for you. Archangel Michael reveals why this pause was created. You were about to walk into something too small for your calling, something that would have limited your wings. So heaven intervened. The universe rearranged its rhythm. Your timeline was stopped to prevent you from choosing out of fear instead of faith. And now everything waits. Not because you are late, but because you are essential. Michael's sword glows with a soft blue flame as he speaks. If they open their heart in this moment, if they dare to believe, everything will realign instantly. Not gradually, not over months. Instantly. You have no idea how many energies are holding position above your life right now. Assignments paused mid-flight. Blessings hovering like arrows pulled back, ready to release. The shift you've been praying for is not coming, it's already here, standing at your door, waiting for your yes. There is something you were supposed to decide this week. Something you've been avoiding. Something you felt unprepared for. A hesitation has kept heaven in stillness. Not because you failed, but because your spirit wanted confirmation. And Michael says, here is your confirmation. This message didn't appear by accident. It didn't show up because you were bored or scrolling or curious. It appeared because angelic timing placed it in front of you the moment you were finally ready to hear what your soul had been whispering for months. You're standing on the edge of alignment. One step shifts everything. One decision turns the wheel again. Michael wants you to know this divine pause was protection, because what is coming next requires you to be fully awakened, not half present, not half believing, not half healed. Heaven stopped the flow so you wouldn't miss the magnitude of what's arriving. Feel that stirring in your chest right now. That's the universe recalibrating. That's your spirit recognizing truth. That's your timeline responding to this message. Your destiny thawing, unlocking, preparing to move again. Before this moment ends, Michael gives one more whisper. Stay alert. What unfolds next will confirm everything you suspected deep inside, but never dared to say out loud. Hold tight, because the next revelation is where things shift sharply. The next unfolding removes the last veil. You'll want to be here for it. This is where alignment becomes undeniable. Type "I step into alignment" in the comments if this is stirring your spirit. Blessing code 441 has just been released. Hold your breath. What comes after this will shake the room inside your soul. Beloved seeker of truth, breathe slowly as you enter this next unfolding, because Archangel Michael stands closer than before. His presence is not distant tonight. It presses gently against the edges of your awareness, guiding you into a deeper layer of the message that began stirring your spirit moments ago. The pause you are living through is not merely divine timing. It is a divine reset, a sacred suspension designed with precision. Michael reveals that when heaven pauses, it is never without purpose. Something in your atmosphere had to be rearranged, restructured, even removed, before your next step could be released. What looks like stillness is actually a battlefield of angels working behind the scenes, clearing paths you did not know were blocked, silencing voices that tried to weaken your courage, and dismantling spiritual interference that attempted to make you doubt your own intuition. Michael shows you standing in a corridor of light, one that stretches into a horizon you cannot yet see. The universe did not pause randomly. It paused because you were about to step into a moment of transformation that would have been sabotaged if you moved too quickly. Heaven has slowed the sequence of events around you so that you would move with wisdom instead of haste. There is a difference between delay and orchestration, and your spirit knows this. You have felt something shifting, even when nothing in the physical changed. You sense the invisible gears turning, the quiet hum of destiny forming beneath the surface. That is because Archangel Michael has been moving ahead of you, rearranging outcomes that were not aligned with your calling. This pause is not punishment. This pause is protection. Michael repeats it again so your heart can absorb it. Protection. The universe halted the motion of your timeline so that you would not collide with a choice that would have altered your path in a harmful way. You may not realize it, but something you were recently tempted to accept would have diminished the magnitude of your purpose. There was an offer, a relationship, a door, or even a distraction that seemed appealing or convenient, but it did not carry the blueprint of your destiny. Heaven intervened before you could settle for less than what was written for you. Now Michael reveals another layer. A divine pause does something powerful within your spirit. It makes you confront what you truly desire, what you truly fear, and what you truly believe. When everything stops around you, you can no longer hide from your inner world. The silence exposes the truth. It shows you where you have compromised, hesitated, or abandoned yourself. But it also shows you where you have grown stronger, wiser, more discerning. The universe paused because you have reached the threshold where the old version of you cannot continue forward. A transformation is occurring silently in the background of your soul. You may have wondered why certain conversations never happened, why certain people drifted away, why certain opportunities vanished right when you felt ready. Michael explains, it is because heaven saw what you could not see. You were being positioned. You were being recalibrated. You were being prepared to receive something too vast to carry if you were still holding on to what was smaller. The universe paused to bring your heart into alignment with your destiny. An alignment is not gentle, it is precise. Michael steps forward with another vision. You are standing before a great gate made of light. It is closed, not because you are unworthy, but because it is waiting for your command. Heaven cannot open what you have not decided to walk through. Your next action is the key. This is why the message declared, if you open this now, everything will realign instantly. Michael emphasizes that this opening is not physical. It is spiritual. It is emotional. It is internal. It is the moment you choose the path that has been calling you for months, perhaps even years. There is a decision you have been delaying, and heaven can delay no longer. You know exactly what Michael is pointing toward, because your heart just reacted. You felt that pull beneath your ribs, that tightening in your chest, that familiar tug in your intuition. Your hesitation was understandable, but the time for clarity has arrived. This is the moment where heaven watches. This is the moment where the universe holds its breath. This is the moment where your destiny leans forward and waits to see whether you will rise or retreat. Michael shows you something powerful. Every time you feel stuck, heaven is not stuck with you. It is waiting. It is watching. It is preparing the next scene of your life. This pause was created to give you the space to choose with confidence instead of confusion. Everything you have lost recently, everything that drifted away, everything that felt like it slipped through your fingers, it was not rejection. It was redirection. Heaven removed what was misaligned, so that nothing weak would remain attached to your journey. Listen to this carefully. Your destiny requires a bold version of you, not the version shaped by fear, not the version shaped by doubt, not the version shaped by the opinions of others. The universe paused because heaven needed you to see that you are not waiting for blessings. They are waiting for you. The moment you take the step, the moment you shift your mindset, the moment you choose the higher path, the alignment begins. Michael whispers one more message before this part ends. Prepare yourself. The next revelation is where heaven reveals the reason for the pause. Stay with this message, because the explanation will shake something dormant awake inside you. Before you move on, pause your mind and listen. Your spirit is already responding. This next unfolding is where your story turns. Hold your ground and do not drift away, because what is coming next is the confirmation you have prayed for in silence. Type "I rise into purpose" in the comments if this message is awakening something within you. Blessing code 993 has now ignited. Child of awakening, step closer now, because Archangel Michael begins to reveal the part of this message that shifts everything. His presence feels stronger than before, surrounding you like a cloak of clarity, urging your heart to stay steady as you enter this deeper realm of understanding. The universe has not only paused for you, it has been watching, studying, and aligning itself according to your inner transformation. Every moment of confusion, every delay you questioned, every closed door you took personally, was part of a larger architecture designed by heaven. Michael now pulls back the veil so you can finally see what has been unfolding behind the scenes. Heaven paused because you were being recalibrated on a soul level. Not a small adjustment, not a gentle nudge, but a complete spiritual realignment meant to shift the entire trajectory of your life. You have outgrown cycles you once clung to for safety. You have surpassed limitations that used to hold you in place. You have moved beyond environments that could no longer carry the weight of your calling. Even if you did not see it happening, heaven saw it clearly, and the universe was instructed to hold back the next chapter until you were fully prepared to receive it. Michael now shows you a vision. Your life is like a great wheel, carved with timelines, choices, destinies, and spiritual contracts. For a long season, this wheel turned slowly, almost painfully. But recently, something unclogged in your spirit. Something broke free. Something awakened. Heaven sensed the shift, and the universe paused, waiting for you to realize the magnitude of the transformation taking place within you. Your old identity, the one shaped by fear and survival, could not walk through the gate designed for your true self. So everything had to stop. Everything had to wait. Your destiny would not allow you to self-sabotage by moving too soon. Michael speaks again, his voice like a thunder wrapped in tenderness. You didn't fail. You transitioned. That is why the things you used to tolerate became unbearable. That is why certain relationships suddenly felt misaligned. That is why your spirit grew restless in places where you once felt comfortable. You were not losing stability. You were being prepared for elevation. The universe paused so that you would not mistake spiritual growth for chaos. It is not chaos. It is the rearranging of your entire foundation. Now the message deepens. Michael reveals that heaven has been testing the readiness of your heart. The pause exposed your hidden doubts, your lingering wounds, and your buried desires, not to shame you, but to bring them to the surface so they could be healed. You could not step into alignment carrying the residue of old pain. And heaven, in its compassion, did not want you entering your next chapter with the mindset of your previous one. The universe paused because you needed space to transform without pressure, without noise, without rushing toward outcomes that were not meant for you. There is something heaven wants you to grasp. Your destiny is not fragile. It cannot be stolen. It cannot be blocked by another person. It cannot be destroyed by circumstance. The only thing that could slow it was your readiness. And now, according to Archangel Michael, that readiness is finally igniting. That is why this message appeared. That is why you felt the pull to keep listening. That is why your spirit recognizes this as truth, even if your mind is still catching up. You are stepping into a season where your decisions will accelerate your timeline instead of delaying it. Michael reveals another powerful truth. There is something heaven protected you from recently. Something you wanted, something you prayed for, something you believed was a line. But heaven saw deeper than your desire. Heaven saw the hidden consequences, the unseen effects, the spiritual costs. So the universe paused to block what was not meant for your long-term purpose. You may not fully understand it now, but in the coming days, clarity will hit you like a revelation. You will say, "Now I see why everything had to stop." Heaven is now waiting for one thing: your commitment to the path that is meant for you. Not the path shaped by fear. Not the one that keeps you safe, but small. Not the one that pleases others, but drains you. The real path. The higher path. the aligned path. The moment you take your first step in that direction, the universe will awaken. The wheel will turn again. Your timeline will resume with power. The shift will be immediate because heaven has already prepared everything you need behind the scenes. Michael gives a final insight for this moment. He says that the pause is ending soon, and when it ends, things will move quickly. Opportunities will flow. Connections will appear. Confirmations will surround you. But you must stay with this message long enough for your spirit to catch the rhythm of what heaven is orchestrating. This is not the moment to drift away. This is the moment to lean in. What is coming next will unlock what you have been yearning to understand for years. Before this part closes, breathe deeply. Feel the shift within you. Something is awakening. Something old is falling away. Something new is being born. And the next unfolding will reveal why heaven specifically chose this moment to bring this message to your doorstep. Stay close, because the revelation ahead carries the fire of truth your spirit has been seeking. Type "I walk into alignment" in the comments if this resonates with your soul. Blessing code 1203 is now active. Before you continue, make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe, and hype this message so it can reach the ones heaven is calling in this very hour. The harvest of souls depends on voices willing to carry God's fire, and when you support this mission, you become a vessel of that light. Heaven calls it sowing into kingdom ground, where every seed releases breakthrough into someone else's darkness. As it is written, God says, "I open the windows of heaven over those who pour into my work," and tonight, that word is alive, moving, and speaking directly into your spirit. I feel led to tell you this personally. I am inviting you to lift this assignment with your own hands, because your support does more than sustain the message. It multiplies its reach. Just as this video revealed the universe waiting for your action, heaven also waits for those who respond when God stirs them. When you release your offering through Super Thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description, the act becomes prophetic, unlocking favor, alignment, and supernatural acceleration. I speak this blessing over every giver. May your seed return to you in light, clarity, and divine timing that cannot be denied. Now act with boldness, for heaven honors those who move when called. Beloved one, step into this next unfolding with a steady heart, because Archangel Michael moves even closer now, as though the very air around you has become saturated with revelation. What is happening in your life is not random, not accidental, not a coincidence. It is a meticulously crafted divine sequence, and in this moment, heaven urges you to understand the deeper mechanics behind the pause you have been living in. Michael lifts his sword, and its light reflects the truth you have been sensing but could not fully name. You have entered a sacred intersection where your spiritual maturity, your emotional healing, and your divine assignment finally meet. The universe paused because the alignment required perfect timing, and you were not meant to miss this crossing. Michael shows you another vision, one that reveals the unseen architecture of your destiny. You stand on a bridge suspended between two realms. Behind you lies the weight of old expectations, the pressure of familiar patterns, and the comfort of identities you outgrew long ago. Ahead of you lies a landscape glowing with potential, filled with doors that only open when your inner frequency rises to match their purpose. This is why heaven demanded stillness. If you had moved prematurely, your spirit would have tried to fit into environments that could no longer hold you. The pause prevented you from forcing yourself into spaces where your wings would be clipped rather than strengthened. For months, Michael explains, your soul has been quietly shifting. Even when your physical world seemed unchanged, your inner world was undergoing a profound transformation. Old desires fell away without warning. Old attachments loosened their grip. Old fears lost their authority over you. There were days you felt confused, disconnected, or strangely restless, as though something inside you were dissolving and reforming at the same time. That sensation was real. That sensation was alignment. Heaven was correcting your internal compass, preparing it to point toward your true north. The universe paused not because you were off track, but because you were being redirected toward the path written for you before you ever took your first breath. Michael speaks again, revealing another dimension of this moment. There is a call on your life that has been dormant, waiting for the right atmosphere to reactivate. Something inside you knows you were never meant to live a small, contained, predictable existence. Your spirit has always been louder than your circumstances. Your intuition has always whispered truths your logic tried to ignore. The universe paused to amplify those whispers until they became undeniable. Heaven needed you to hear your own spirit clearly, without the noise of external expectations. This pause gave you space to rediscover the voice within you that speaks with the authority of destiny. Now Michael leads you deeper. He reveals that heaven paused because you were being tested, not to expose your weakness, but to reveal your strength. You were tested in patience, in faith, in isolation, in discernment. Heaven watched to see if you would return to old cycles when the future felt unclear. You did not. You chose growth. You chose honesty. You chose elevation. That choice alone shifted the frequency of your timeline. This is why the message declared that everything will realign instantly once you act. The universe is not waiting on a miracle. It is waiting on your decision, because your decision is the miracle. Michael lifts his voice with intensity now, and the clarity of his message pierces through every layer of uncertainty you have carried. The divine pause is ending. The air around your life is beginning to vibrate again. Spiritual momentum is stirring beneath your feet. You may not see it physically yet, but you can feel the energy gathering, the way the atmosphere changes before a storm breaks open. Heaven has been waiting for this moment, the moment where your belief grows stronger than your fear. You are stepping into a season where your courage will unlock doors faster than your hesitation ever closed them. But there is something else Michael wants you to understand. Alignment is not only about what comes toward you, it is also about what falls away. In the coming days, you may notice certain people stepping back, certain conversations ending, certain connections fading. Do not chase what heaven is removing. Do not cling to what is exiting your life gracefully. These departures are not losses, they are indicators. They show you what can no longer walk beside you at the frequency you are rising into. Heaven is clearing your path so nothing misaligned can slow your ascent. Michael gives you one final vision for this part. You see yourself standing in the center of a vast field. Above you, the sky begins to rotate, almost like a great wheel turning with divine intention. Stars rearrange themselves, forming patterns that align perfectly over your head. This is your divine synchronicity activating. This is alignment taking shape. This is the universe responding to your awakening. The pause was necessary to position every element with precision. And now, heaven prepares to release movement, breakthrough, clarity, and acceleration all at once. Michael whispers as this part draws to its close, "Stay with this journey." The next revelation will explain why your spirit could no longer stay where you were, and why heaven is ushering you into a destiny that has been waiting for you to rise. You are closer to your realignment than you realize. Hold your spirit steady, because what comes next will feel like stepping into the brightness of your own divine truth. Type "I align with destiny" in the comments if this part is awakening your spirit. Blessing code 1708 has now been released. Beloved soul, step deeper into this unfolding, for Archangel Michael stands with a clarity so radiant that it begins to illuminate the hidden corners of your journey. His presence does not simply accompany you in this moment. It surrounds you like a shield of revelation, urging you to understand what heaven has been constructing in the silence. The pause you have lived through was not only a divine reset or a spiritual recalibration. It was a sacred cleansing, a removal of energetic debris, a lifting of burdens you did not even realize you were carrying. Heaven has been extracting old influences from your field, pulling out invisible threads that once tied you to limitations that had expired long ago. Michael shows you a vision of your life from above, as though you are watching your soul's timeline from an elevated vantage point. You see yourself walking through seasons of endurance, seasons where you kept pushing even when your spirit was exhausted. You see moments where you silenced your own needs to maintain peace for others. You see chapters where you diluted your power to make others comfortable. Heaven witnessed it all, and the universe paused because your timeline could not advance while you were still carrying the weight of identity shaped by old expectations. You were stepping forward, but dragging what no longer belonged to you. So heaven intervened. Michael reveals that the pause served as a spiritual detox. You may have noticed emotional releases, sudden moments of clarity, unexpected insights, or an urge to distance yourself from anything draining. These were not coincidences. Your spirit was shedding layers that were never meant to accompany you into the next era of your destiny. Heaven slowed everything around you to give you space to breathe, space to reflect, space to recognize the truth of who you have become. You are not the person you were a year ago. You are not even the person you were 3 months ago. Your spirit has risen, shifted, and expanded beyond the walls that used to contain you. Michael continues, showing you that the universe paused to protect the purity of your next chapter. Not purity in a moral sense, but purity in an energetic sense. Your purpose required a clean atmosphere. Your calling required a clear frequency. Heaven could not allow old energies to contaminate what is coming. That is why certain people suddenly felt distant, why their words no longer resonated, why your heart no longer aligned with certain dynamics. Heaven removed what could not elevate with you. If those things had remained, they would have diluted your next blessing. A pause ensured your spirit had room to rise without interference. Now Michael directs your attention to something crucial. During the pause, heaven has been reconfiguring your intuition. You may have felt your perception sharpening, your dreams becoming more vivid, your instincts becoming louder. This is because your discernment is being activated for the season ahead. You are entering a timeline where clear guidance will be essential. The universe paused so that you could reconnect with your inner knowing, the one that has always been accurate even when you doubted it. You will soon enter opportunities where your intuition will lead you more powerfully than logic ever could. Heaven needed you to trust this voice before the momentum begins. Michael steps forward again, and now his voice becomes more direct, almost urgent. He reveals that the pause was also a test of alignment. Heaven wanted to see which version of you would emerge when everything around you stood still. Would you revert to fear or rise into faith? Would you seek external validation or listen to your inner truth? Would you shrink or evolve? Every decision you made during the stillness revealed your readiness. And heaven saw something remarkable in you: growth. Even when you felt unsure, even when you felt overwhelmed, even when you questioned everything, you continued forward. That forward motion, even in confusion, signaled heaven that you were aligned enough for the next phase. Michael shows you another vision. You see a massive gate made of light, pulsing gently like a heartbeat. It is closed, not because you are unworthy, but because heaven is waiting for your spirit to fully match the frequency of the breakthrough behind it. You are almost there. The transformation happening inside you is bringing your entire life into synchronization. What once felt delayed is now becoming deliberate. What once felt unclear is now becoming illuminated. You are not losing time. You are entering the right time. Heaven wants you to understand this deeply. The universe paused because your timeline is being rewritten. Old outcomes are being erased. Old patterns are being dismantled. Old chapters are being sealed. You are not returning to who you were. You are stepping into a version of yourself that has been waiting in the wings of your destiny for years. The pause allowed your soul to catch up to your calling. And now, the alignment is nearly complete. Michael whispers with a gentleness that fills the space around you. Hold steady. A new sequence of divine movement is approaching, and once it begins, your life will shift with a speed that will leave you breathless. He wants you to recognize that what is coming next will not feel slow. It will feel like everything unlocking at once. Blessings, connections, clarity, opportunities, all synchronized with divine timing. Before this part closes, feel the truth settling into your spirit. You were never behind. You were being prepared. And the next revelation will reveal why heaven waited for this exact moment to place this message in your path. Type "I walk in divine timing" in the comments if your spirit feels this truth rising within you. Blessing Code 2231 has now been released. The loved soul, step into this next revelation with a calm and open spirit, for Archangel Michael now ushers you into one of the deepest truths behind the heavenly pause that has surrounded your life. His presence feels different in this moment, more grounded, more intimate, as if he is no longer speaking to you, but speaking through you. What he reveals now is not merely about timing or alignment. It is about the reconstruction of your entire identity, the resurrection of the parts of you that were buried under years of expectations, disappointments, responsibilities, and unspoken pain. Heaven paused your timeline because you were in the process of reclaiming yourself, not just your destiny. Michael opens this part by showing you a vision of your heart. It is not fragile or broken. It is powerful, glowing, pulsing with strength you forgot you possessed. But wrapped around this heart are old memories, old fears, old attachments, old narratives that once shaped your decisions. Heaven could not allow the next season of your life to manifest while you were still influenced by experiences that kept your power dim. The universe paused so that your heart could be rewritten. You were not being tested. You were being restored. There were moments in the past months where you felt disconnected from everything around you. Moments where you questioned whether you were losing motivation or drifting away from your purpose. Moments where you felt emotionally distant, spiritually quiet, or mentally overwhelmed. Heaven wants you to understand that these sensations were not signs of collapse. They were signs of reformation. Your spirit was shedding the layers that kept you small. Your soul was detoxing from the emotional residue of old versions of you. The universe paused to give you the space to let this shedding occur without external interference. Michael now reveals a truth that hits deeper. You are becoming too comfortable in environments that were beneath your calling. Comfort can be dangerous, for it convinces you that survival is enough when you were created for expansion. Heaven saw that you were beginning to shrink yourself to fit spaces that could not hold your future. So the pause became a divine intervention, a disruption designed to save you from settling. You may not have understood it at first. You may have felt frustrated, restless, or uncertain. But the pause shook the foundation of your comfort so that you could finally step onto the foundation of your purpose. Michael's voice strengthens as he shows you another layer of this transformation. During the pause, Heaven rewired your spiritual sensitivity. You may have noticed subtle changes. Your intuition became sharper. Your dreams became clearer. Your emotional responses became more precise. Your inner knowing became louder. These shifts were not random. Heaven has been preparing you to move through your next chapter with spiritual intelligence, rather than survival instincts. You are no longer being guided by fear-based thinking. You are being guided by divine discernment. Heaven paused your timeline because you were entering a phase where clarity was essential. You could not afford confusion. You could not afford misalignment. You could not afford to accept opportunities that would drain your spirit. You could not afford to attach yourself to people whose intentions did not match your elevation. The pause gave you time to see the truth of everything around you without the distortion of urgency. And though this clarity may have been uncomfortable, it was necessary. Michael now walks you deeper into the revelation. He shows you an image of yourself standing in a room filled with mirrors. Each mirror reflects a different version of you. Past you, healed you, wounded you, elevated you, uncertain you, powerful you. For a long time, you did not realize which version of you was leading your decisions. But during the pause, Heaven allowed all the mirrored versions to collapse into one. You are now standing in the reflection of your true identity. Not the one shaped by trauma. Not the one shaped by expectations. Not the one shaped by lack or fear or pressure. But the one shaped by divine purpose. This is why certain things no longer excite you. This is why certain people no longer influence you. This is why old desires no longer drive you. You are not disinterested. You are evolving. You are not disconnected. You are awakening. You are not numb. You are aligning. Your spirit is rejecting anything that does not resonate with your new frequency. And Heaven paused your timeline to give you space to accept this evolution without guilt. Michael reveals something else. You have crossed an invisible threshold. The version of you that tolerated uncertainty, chaos, emotional imbalance, one-sided relationships, and environments that drained your soul. That version is gone. You have stepped into a higher realm of self-worth, even if you have not fully realized it yet. This is why the universe paused. Heaven needed your internal elevation to match the external blessings preparing to enter your life. Without this internal shift, the blessings would have been too heavy. But now, you are ready. Michael shows you one final vision before this part draws to a close. You see a door in front of you, massive, golden, shimmering with divine frequency. It is not open yet, but it is beginning to glow, reacting to your awakening. Every moment of healing, every moment of clarity, every moment of inner transformation brings the door closer to unlocking. Heaven paused your timeline so that when this door opens, you will not walk through it half-equipped. You will walk through it whole, confident, aligned, and ready. As this part ends, Michael whispers, "Prepare your spirit." The next revelation will explain why everything that once felt like loss was actually divine positioning. Hold this message close, for the unfolding ahead will bring answers you have prayed for in silence. Type "I am ready" for alignment in the comments if your spirit feels this shift. Blessing code 2607 has been released. Beloved one, enter this next revelation with steady breath, because Archangel Michael now unveils one of the most significant truths behind everything you have endured. His presence arrives not as distant guidance, but as a towering certainty standing firmly at your side. You are not merely walking through a season of divine timing. You are walking through a season of divine unveiling. The universe paused not only to protect you, not only to realign you, not only to awaken you, but to expose what was hidden, both around you and within you. This part of your journey marks the moment where heaven begins to show you why the pause was absolutely necessary. Michael begins by showing you a vision of your past year. You see yourself standing at crossroads you didn't fully understand, making decisions while trying to interpret mixed signals, longing for clarity but receiving only fragments. Heaven saw the pressure placed upon your spirit. Heaven saw the weight of uncertainty you carried. Heaven saw how often you questioned yourself, how often you wondered if you were misinterpreting the signs. And so, the universe paused the movement around you to prevent you from stepping into situations that would have drained your energy, distorted your intuition, or entangled you with people who were not aligned with your destiny. This pause was heaven's way of shielding you from deception. There were things you could not see clearly while moving, because constant motion blurs the spiritual landscape. Stillness, however, reveals truth. During the pause, heaven allowed masks to fall. You began noticing patterns you once overlooked. You sensed intentions that no longer felt right. You pulled back from conversations that drained your warmth. You questioned connections that felt hollow. These were not coincidences. They were signs of spiritual maturity rising within you. Heaven needed you to see these truths before allowing movement again. The pause gave you the clarity to discern what does not belong in the next chapter of your life. Michael now directs your attention inward, revealing a deeper purpose behind the pause. You were being prepared to reclaim your power. Somewhere along the way, pieces of your identity were handed out. Small concessions you made to keep peace, emotional sacrifices you made to avoid losing people, moments where you shrank to protect relationships or expectations. Heaven saw how much of yourself you gave away while rarely receiving the same level of commitment or sincerity in return. The universe paused your life so that you could gather the fragments of yourself that had been scattered across years of compromise. During the pause, you were not losing anything. You were retrieving your own power. Michael shows you another vision. You are holding a lantern, and with each passing moment of this pause, the flame inside grows brighter. This lantern represents your inner guidance, your intuition, your spiritual awareness, your discernment. Heaven has been strengthening this flame so that the path ahead becomes visible even before the universe begins to move again. You will no longer walk blind, hoping things work out. You will walk with insight, with conviction, with understanding. The pause allowed your inner light to rise high enough to illuminate the next steps of your destiny. Now Michael reveals a profound truth. You are being prepared for acceleration. What comes after this pause will unfold much faster than the seasons behind you. Doors that once felt sealed will open without resistance. People who are meant to accompany your destiny will appear effortlessly. Resources, ideas, and opportunities will align as if the universe were waiting for a single signal from your spirit. But acceleration without preparation becomes chaos. Heaven paused your timeline to ensure you would not be overwhelmed when the blessings arrive. The stillness you lived through was not emptiness, it was training. It strengthened the parts of you that will soon carry responsibility, abundance, influence, clarity, and deeper spiritual authority. Michael speaks again, and this time his tone carries an undeniable weight. The pause was also meant to break a cycle you may not have recognized consciously. A cycle of overgiving. A cycle of tolerating imbalances. A cycle of ignoring your inner voice to avoid disappointing others. A cycle of choosing peace over truth. These patterns cannot travel with you into the future heaven is constructing. So the pause served as a spiritual intervention, breaking the cycle so completely that you cannot return to who you used to be. Even if you tried, your soul would not allow it. You have elevated past the point of returning. Michael steps closer now, revealing the final layer of this part. There is something heaven has been preparing you to receive. Something specific, something long promised, something you may have felt forming but could never fully articulate. This blessing requires a version of you that is whole, confident, discerning, spiritually aligned, and no longer carrying the weight of old wounds. The pause was heaven's way of molding you into the vessel capable of holding this gift. You are being shaped into someone who will not sabotage their own breakthrough, someone who will not question their worth, someone who will not settle for less than what was written for them. As this part concludes, Michael gives you a final whisper. You are closer to your unlocking than you realize. Do not drift now. The next revelation reveals the reason heaven rearranged your timeline and how everything withheld will return with multiplied grace. Stay present. The unfolding continues, and what comes next will ignite your spirit with undeniable truth. Type "I am prepared for what comes next" in the comments if this part resonates deeply. Blessing code 3114 has been released. Beloved one, step into this next revelation with a steady heart, for Archangel Michael now brings you into a territory where the deeper meaning of your divine pause becomes unmistakably clear. His presence surrounds you with the gravity of truth, as though the air itself waits for your spirit to absorb what comes next. This is not merely another message, This is the point where heaven begins to unveil the purpose behind every delay, every unexpected silence, every moment you felt suspended between what was and what is yet to come. Michael stands beside you, his sword lowered in peace, his wings creating a shield of stillness around you. You are entering the part of your journey where the universe reveals the structure behind the realignment that has been unfolding around your life. Michael begins by showing you a vision that stretches across the timelines of your soul. You see a series of moments where you were on the edge of stepping into something that felt promising, something that felt right, something that seemed aligned. Yet every time you reached for it, something interfered. A sudden shift, an abrupt end, a change in momentum, or even an unexplainable emotional hesitation. These were not obstacles. These were interventions. Heaven was not blocking you from blessings. Heaven was blocking you from burdens disguised as blessings. What you thought you lost was actually what heaven refused to let harm you. Heaven saw the motives you could not see. Heaven recognized the energy that would have drained you. Heaven understood the spiritual cost behind what you believed was a gift. And so the universe paused your forward motion, not to punish you, but to protect you from entering agreements that would have sabotaged your future. Every door that closed was an act of mercy. Every delay was an act of preservation. Every pause was the shield of Archangel Michael moving into your timeline to safeguard the future heaven has written for you. Now Michael shows you another layer of this revelation. The universe paused because you were in a season of spiritual construction. Heaven was building something around you that required perfect timing. Certain events needed to take place in the lives of others before your paths could intersect. Certain opportunities needed time to mature behind the scenes. Certain environments needed to shift before they could hold the weight of your calling. What you perceived as stillness was actually divine engineering, a complex orchestration where heaven was aligning people, places, resources, timing, and spiritual openings with precision. Michael reveals that had you moved earlier, you would have stepped into a version of your destiny that was too small, too incomplete, too early. Heaven needed the perfect alignment. Heaven needed you ready. Heaven needed your environment ready. Heaven needed your spirit clear, your intuition sharp, your heart fortified, and your identity restored. The pause was not wasted time. The pause was preparation time. The next vision Michael reveals strikes even deeper. You see yourself standing at the center of a great circle, and around you are pathways leading in every direction. Some paths glow brightly, others fade into darkness, and others remain hidden beneath layers of fog. During your pause, heaven illuminated the path that aligns with your truest purpose. The old paths you once considered are no longer options. You feel a shift within your spirit that refuses to settle for anything less than authenticity. You cannot return to who you used to be. You cannot fit into old cycles. You cannot force yourself into environments that dim your frequency. This is because during the pause, heaven rewired your capacity to choose. Your discernment has become too strong for you to be led by fear again. Michael speaks with a firmness that resonates in your bones. The universe paused your life because heaven was recalibrating your spiritual authority. There is a role you are meant to step into, a position of influence, wisdom, insight, or spiritual depth that requires a profound level of clarity. Heaven did not want you entering that role prematurely. You needed this season of stillness to strengthen your spiritual foundation. You needed this time to recognize your value. You needed this pause to remember that your calling is not accidental, not fragile, not conditional. It is rooted in divine intention. The pause was heaven's way of separating you from what was hindering your elevation. There were energies attached to you that needed releasing. There were emotional weights resting on your heart that needed lifting. There were spiritual ties that needed breaking. Heaven was untying knots you did not even realize were there. And now, as this part unfolds, you begin to sense that you are finally being positioned to receive what was meant for you all along. Blessings that require a whole heart, opportunities that require a wise mind, and divine encounters that require a spiritually awakened soul. Michael whispers a final message before this part concludes. The pause is ending. Movement is coming. And once it begins, nothing will be able to slow it. You are stepping into a chapter of acceleration, but heaven wanted your spirit steady before the momentum begins. What awaits you next is not random. It is intentional, divine, and fully aligned with the destiny heaven has been preparing you for. This is the moment to stay with the message, because the next revelation explains the release. The moment heaven reactivates the motion of your timeline. Type "I am ready for the release" in the comments if this speaks to your spirit. Blessing code 3480 has now been released. Before you continue, make sure you like, share, comment, hype this message, and subscribe so it reaches every soul heaven is calling right now. When you lift this message through your support, you become a partner in awakening souls who are standing at the edge of their divine alignment. Heaven uses the seeds sown into this mission the same way it uses rain upon dry ground, reviving, replenishing, and restoring those who have lost their way. God declares, "I pour out oil upon those who strengthen my work," and today that promise is alive, moving through this very moment. I speak this personally to you. I invite you to rise with this mission, for when you give, you ignite a chain reaction of deliverance in lives you may never meet. Just as heaven has paused time waiting for your action, heaven moves when you sow into divine purpose. Whether through super thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description, your offering becomes a prophetic act that releases new alignment into your own life. I bless every giver with supernatural clarity, open pathways, and divine acceleration. Now move with the authority God has placed in you, for heaven responds to the bowl. Beloved soul, enter this next unfolding with a deep breath, because Archangel Michael now leads you into a realm where the truth behind your divine pause becomes unmistakably personal. You have walked through the stillness, you have endured the uncertainty, and now heaven begins to reveal the hidden architecture that has been shaping your journey from the inside out. Michael's presence stands tall beside you, steady and unwavering, as though he has been guarding this revelation for the exact moment your spirit was ready to hear it. What comes now is not simply guidance, it is the unveiling of why heaven waited, why heaven watched, and why heaven intervened on your behalf. Michael begins by showing you an image of yourself standing at a threshold. One foot stands in the realm of who you used to be, where your identity was shaped by survival, habits, and expectations. The other foot stands in the realm of who you are becoming, formed by clarity, courage, and divine purpose. You have been straddling this threshold for longer than you realized. Heaven paused your timeline not to create conflict, but to prevent you from living split between two worlds, half in the past, half in the future, unsure which direction to choose. The pause brought you face to face with yourself, asking your spirit to decide which identity you would carry into the next season. Michael reveals that the pause was necessary because you were being invited to release something deeply rooted. It was something emotional, something unspoken, something you held onto without fully realizing how much it influenced your choices. It may have been an old narrative, a limiting belief, a deeply ingrained fear, or an attachment to a version of yourself shaped by old wounds. Heaven could not allow this hidden weight to travel with you into the new alignment. The universe paused to give you space to confront and release what your spirit had outgrown. Heaven saw the patterns you kept repeating. Patterns of overgiving. Patterns of silence when you needed to speak. Patterns of accepting less than your worth. Patterns of emotional self-abandonment to maintain connections. These patterns were not flaws. They were survival strategies you developed during seasons where you lacked support. But those patterns could not remain in the new chapter heaven has prepared. So the pause acted as a spiritual detox, clearing away remnants of old survival modes so that your decisions could finally come from empowerment rather than fear. Michael shows you another layer of revelation. During the pause, heaven was reintroducing you to your own strength. There were days when you surprised yourself. Moments where you said no when you normally would have said yes. Moments where you pulled away from what drained you instead of tolerating it. Moments where your spirit felt tired of repeating cycles and demanded better. These moments were not random. They were signs that your awakening had begun. Heaven paused the motion around you so that these new strengths could fully emerge without being overshadowed by external pressure. Michael reveals something even deeper. Your spirit has been preparing for a role of influence. Not necessarily public influence, but energetic influence, where your presence shifts rooms, your voice carries weight, your wisdom brings clarity, and your spiritual awareness becomes a guiding force for others. Heaven was shaping you into someone who can hold spiritual responsibility without resentment, exhaustion, or fragmentation. This required strength, boundaries, confidence, and discernment that could only be activated in stillness. The pause allowed you to cultivate these qualities quietly, without distraction. Now Michael shows you a powerful vision. You see a long corridor of doors, each representing a timeline, a destiny path, a future possibility. Some doors are dark and close. Others flicker with faint light. But one door glows with a brightness that pierces through the entire corridor. This is the door heaven has been preparing you for. This is the path where your gifts, your healing, your intuition, and your calling all converge. Yet during the earlier seasons of your life, you did not have the spiritual clarity to recognize this door. The pause was designed to sharpen your sight so you could finally see what was meant for you all along. Michael now speaks with a calm but commanding presence. The pause was not holding you back. It was holding you together. Heaven saw where your spirit was stretched, where your heart was tired, where your mind was overwhelmed. The universe paused to give you the space to gather yourself, to reclaim your energy, and to rediscover your own voice. You are not walking into your next chapter empty. You are walking into it restored. Heaven also paused your relationships. Some people drifted, some connections faded, some bonds weakened. This was not abandonment. This was purification. Heaven removed anyone whose presence would have interfered with your alignment. Anyone carrying instability, Hidden resentment, emotional manipulation, or spiritual opposition could not remain attached to your destiny. The pause cleared your atmosphere so that only what aligns with your elevation will remain. Michael gives you one final revelation in this part. The pause was the space between your old identity and your true purpose. It was the cocoon, the refining fire, the sacred transition. You may not have understood it while living through it, but now your spirit begins to recognize the transformation. You are no longer who you were. Your perspective has shifted. Your boundaries have strengthened. Your intuition has sharpened. Your energy has risen. The universe paused to prepare you for the moment it will soon release motion into your timeline. As this part concludes, Michael whispers, "What comes next will not resemble what you left behind." Heaven has prepared a release that will realign everything at once. Stay with this message. The next revelation carries the blueprint of your divine unfolding. Type "I receive my awakening" in the comments if this part speaks to your soul. Blessing code 4021 has now been released. Beloved soul, enter this next revelation with a centered heart, because Archangel Michael now leads you into the realm where the meaning of your divine pause becomes unmistakably prophetic. What you are stepping into is not just understanding, it is awakening. Michael's presence stands tall beside you like a pillar of clarity, reminding you that nothing in your journey has been accidental, nothing has been wasted, and nothing has been delayed without divine intention. This is the point in your unfolding where heaven begins to show you why every moment of stillness was required, and how that silence shaped the future you are now being prepared to enter. Michael begins this part by revealing a vision of your life as a tapestry suspended between heaven and earth. You see threads of gold, threads of shadow, moments of strength, moments of exhaustion, and decisions that tied one season to the next. But then you notice something unexpected. There are threads that stop abruptly, threads that seem unfinished, threads that end in pauses rather than closure. Heaven shows you that these threads represent moments where divine intervention stepped in, halting connections or opportunities that were not aligned with your soul's highest purpose. The pause made room for heaven to reweave the parts of your life that required greater intention than your human eyes could see. Michael explains that the pause was not a passive moment, it was a sacred recalibration. Heaven was reworking your spiritual architecture, ensuring that every new piece connected to your destiny would be anchored in stability rather than struggle. You had outgrown certain aspects of your old life, and the universe could not allow you to carry old patterns into new blessings. The pause was meant to isolate the areas of your spirit that needed strengthening. Your confidence, your boundaries, your discernment, your emotional clarity, and your sense of worth. Heaven wanted you to enter your future unburdened, not dragging the weight of unresolved inner battles. Now Michael reveals another powerful truth. There was something the universe needed to bring into alignment before the next chapter of your life could begin. This involved people, circumstances, timing, and spiritual openings that needed to converge in perfect precision. Heaven was waiting for someone else's spiritual readiness, waiting for an environment to shift, waiting for a certain door to close, waiting for the right opportunity to be prepared. You are not only being shaped, the world around you was being shaped to receive you. Heaven paused your movement because everything connected to your destiny needed to be brought into order before you arrive. Michael now directs your attention inward, showing you how much transformation has taken place within your soul. You may not have realized it, but during the pause, your energy changed. Your spirit matured. Your intuition sharpened. Your emotional resilience strengthened. Your perspective expanded. There were days when you felt tired for no reason, days where you felt detached from old habits, days where you questioned everything, days where you wanted to walk away from what used to define you. These were not signs of disconnect. They were signs of rebirth. Heaven was stretching your spirit so you could hold more light, more clarity, more responsibility, and more divine alignment. Michael reveals a specific image now, a door made of radiant white light, pulsing like a heartbeat. This door represents a major shift in your life, one that requires your full presence, your full power, and your full readiness. Heaven paused your timeline, because this door is not one you walk through casually. It is a doorway of destiny, one that launches you into a season of accelerated blessing and spiritual purpose. To walk through it prematurely would have overwhelmed you. To walk through it now will empower you. Heaven waited until your spirit was strong enough to hold what lies on the other side. Now Michael brings forward another truth. During your pause, heaven was removing access to you. Certain people were gently or abruptly moved out of your life because heaven did not want them influencing your next chapter. Some connections were weakening because they could not vibrate at your new frequency. Some relationships felt stagnant because they were no longer aligned with your elevation. You were not being abandoned. You were being insulated. Heaven was protecting the purity of what is coming. Michael also reveals that the pause gave your spirit time to rest from battles you fought silently. You carried burdens for years, emotional weights, unspoken fears, internal conflicts, unanswered questions. Heaven paused everything so you could heal without performing, without pretending, without being pulled in 1,000 directions. You needed the season to breathe again, to hear your own thoughts, to reconnect with your intuition, and to rediscover yourself beyond the demands placed on you. Then Michael steps closer, illuminating the next truth with even greater intensity. Heaven paused your timeline because your future requires a version of you that leads rather than follows, that speaks rather than suppresses, that chooses purpose over comfort, that trusts intuition over fear, and that stands firm instead of shrinking back. This version of you has been forming quietly in the background of your life, rising stronger with every moment of stillness. You may not have recognized the transformation, but heaven did. And now, the pause is nearing its end. Michael shows you that the universe is beginning to move again. Things are shifting beneath the surface. Doors are preparing to unlock. Opportunities are aligning. People are being positioned. The silence is giving way to divine orchestration. What comes next will not feel gradual. It will feel like the universe exhaling after holding its breath for too long. Heaven is ready. The alignment is ready. The blessing is ready. And now, your spirit is finally ready too. As this part closes, Michael whispers, the release is near. Stay present. The next revelation unveils the moment heaven begins to activate your divine movement. Hold this truth close, for what comes next will carry the force of destiny. Type "I am ready for my release" in the comments if this spoke to your soul. Blessing code 4572 has now been released. Beloved soul, step into this next revelation with a fully open spirit, because Archangel Michael now draws you into the moment where the divine pause begins to dissolve and the hidden movement of heaven becomes unmistakably clear. What you are entering now is not simply understanding. It is the threshold of activation. This is where the stillness that held your life in place begins to release its grip. This is where the energy around you starts shifting, where the atmosphere becomes charged with purpose, where your destiny starts leaning forward in anticipation of your next step. Michael stands beside you with unmistakable authority, signaling that the heavens are preparing to resume the flow of your life, but with a power and precision unlike anything you have ever experienced before. Michael begins by showing you a vision of time itself. See a great celestial clock, suspended in a realm of light. Its gears have been frozen, its hands paused, its motion restrained by divine instruction. This clock represents your timeline. Every chapter, every breakthrough, every opportunity meant to align with your purpose. Heaven froze this clock because you were not ready to receive what was written for the next hour of your life. But now, you see the gears tremble, the hands quiver, the mechanisms begin warming with movement. Heaven is preparing to unfreeze what was held back for your protection, and Michael guides your spirit to understand why this moment is so significant. The pause has been long. It has tested you. It has stretched you. It has revealed the depths of your resilience and the strength of your spirit. You walked through days where you felt suspended, as if life had forgotten you. You endured moments where you questioned whether anything was truly changing. You lived through seasons where clarity seemed distant, where progress felt impossible, and where your prayers seemed to echo into silence. But heaven was not ignoring you. Heaven was preparing you. Every ounce of stillness was building spiritual muscle in areas you once felt weak. Every moment of quiet was fortifying foundations that needed reinforcement. Every delay was sharpening the discernment that will soon guide you with unshakable confidence. Michael reveals a truth that your soul needs to absorb deeply. Your life did not stop because you were unworthy. It stopped because you were chosen. Heaven pauses movement around those whose destiny carries long-term impact. You are not just walking into blessings, you are walking into influence. Your next chapter affects more than just your life. It impacts the lives you will touch, the environments you will shift, the spiritual ground you will claim, and the divine assignments that will unfold through you. Heaven had to make sure you were prepared to carry everything that your calling requires. Now Michael shows you another vision, one that pierces through every layer of doubt you have carried. You see yourself standing on a platform of light, and beneath this platform are the spiritual roots of your destiny. Some roots represent strength, your perseverance, compassion, wisdom, awakening. But others represent what needed healing, fear, uncertainty, inner wounds, self-doubt. During the pause, heaven healed the roots that would have weakened your future. Heaven strengthened the roots that will support your elevation. The pause was not the absence of progress. It was the cultivation of depth. Then Michael reveals something even more powerful. There is a moment approaching in your timeline where everything will shift at once. You will feel it energetically before you see it physically. A sudden surge of clarity, a sense of movement in the unseen, a breakthrough that feels divinely timed. Heaven has been waiting for this moment, aligning it with precision. When the release happens, doors will open in rapid succession. Conversations that were stalled will suddenly resume. Opportunities that were once silent will call your name. People who are meant for your next chapter will appear without force or effort. This movement will not be chaotic. It will be orderly, intentional, and unmistakably divine. Michael now speaks with a tone that carries both urgency and compassion. Prepare your spirit. Prepare your mind. Prepare your steps. The universe is ready to resume motion, but heaven needs you to stay attentive as the alignment unfolds. This is not the moment to retreat into old fears. This is not the moment to shrink back into old patterns. This is not the moment to question whether you are ready. Heaven has already decided that you are. The pause would not be ending if your spirit were not sufficiently strengthened. Now heaven reveals one final truth for this part. The silence you endured was not emptiness, it was recalibration. And the movement that is coming will not be subtle, it will be unmistakable. Your life is about to synchronize in ways you cannot anticipate. Hidden pieces are falling into place. Delayed blessings are catching up to your timeline. Past prayers are returning with multiplied force. The universe has been waiting for your readiness, and now heaven is preparing to accelerate everything that belongs to you. The next chapter will not resemble the stillness behind you. It will carry the momentum of destiny awaken. As this part comes to a close, Michael whispers, "Stand firm." The next revelation will show you how heaven begins unlocking what was once held back, and why the release will feel like divine alignment forming in real time. Hold your spirit steady. The unlocking is near. Type "I received the unlocking" in the comments if this part spoke deeply to your spirit. Blessing code 5099 has now been released. Beloved soul, step into this final revelation with a steady heart, because Archangel Michael now leads you into the moment heaven has been preparing you for since the very beginning of this message. This is the part where the divine pause ends. This is the part where the universe begins to move again with unmistakable force. This is the part where your spirit finally recognizes why heaven halted everything around your life for such a significant season. Michael stands before you in full radiance, his presence no longer gentle and observational, but strong, activated, and ready to release the momentum heaven has been holding back. The energy around you begins to shift, like ripples forming before a great wave, signaling that the stillness that once surrounded your timeline is dissolving. Movement has begun in the unseen, and soon your physical world will reflect it. Michael begins by showing you a vision of your life's timeline, stretched before you like a river of light. For a long time, the waters were still, so still that you wondered whether anything was flowing at all. You questioned the silence. You questioned the delays. You questioned the emptiness. But now, the waters begin to stir, gentle at first, then with steady force. Heaven did not forget you. Heaven was repositioning you. The stillness was not stagnation. It was saturation. Heaven filled the river with everything you would need for the next chapter. Strength, clarity, protection, discernment, wisdom, elevation, and only now is the current ready to carry you forward. Michael reveals the first truth of this release. Heaven paused your life to align the right opportunities with the right version of you. The opportunities coming now require a stronger you, a clearer you, a wiser you, a you who knows your worth without questioning it, a you who no longer settles for the bare minimum. The doors that are about to open could not open earlier because you would have walked through them carrying the wrong expectations, the wrong emotional patterns, or the wrong spiritual companions. But now your spirit has risen. Now your discernment has sharpened. Now your heart has finally healed from the burdens you were never meant to carry. Heaven waited until you could receive without losing yourself, and now the time has arrived. Michael shows you another revelation. Heaven is releasing people into your life who are aligned with your growth and your calling. These individuals are not entering by chance. They carry keys of connection, clarity, opportunity, partnership, and spiritual alignment. Heaven removed people who lacked integrity, who carried hidden motives, who drained your energy, who could not celebrate your elevation, and who were not assigned to your destiny. The release brings in people whose spirits resonate with yours, whose intentions uplift rather than drain, and whose presence activates rather than diminishes. These new connections will feel effortless, peaceful, and purpose-driven. They are part of the divine realignment unfolding around you. Michael reveals that heaven is also releasing opportunities that were once withheld. These opportunities will arrive with synchronicity so strong that it will feel supernatural. You may receive unexpected invitations, sudden breakthroughs, reopened conversations, or long-awaited confirmations. What once felt blocked will now feel accelerated. Where you once faced resistance, you will now experience flow. This shift is not the result of chance. It is the result of the season of preparation you have walked through. Heaven is now entrusting you with what your spirit is finally strong enough to carry. Michael steps closer and reveals the next truth. The release is also internal. Heaven is unveiling new levels of confidence, creativity, intuition, and spiritual authority within you. You will notice a shift in how you speak, how you carry yourself, how you perceive situations, and how you respond to challenges. You will no longer act from fear, but from clarity. You will no longer shrink to fit spaces that were never meant to contain you. You will no longer silence your inner voice to maintain connections that lacked alignment. The version of you that emerges from this pause is powerful and prepared. Now Michael reveals something profound. The release will feel sudden. You may wake up one morning with the sense that something has shifted. You may feel a surge of energy, a burst of clarity, or an inner prompting telling you a new chapter has begun. This sensation is not imagination. It is your spirit recognizing what heaven has already activated. Movements in the unseen always echo in your intuition before they manifest in the physical. Pay attention to these signals. They are the first signs of the divine momentum coming toward you. Michael shows one final vision before this part concludes. You see yourself stepping through a massive gate of light. Behind you lies the season of stillness, healing, recalibration, and preparation. Ahead of you lies a horizon filled with opportunity, aligned connections, spiritual elevation, and accelerated blessings. As you step through, the gate closes behind you, not to trap you, but to seal off the old cycle forever. You cannot return to what you came from. You have outgrown it. Heaven has elevated you beyond it. And the universe is now ready to move with you, not against you. Michael whispers a closing message that carries the weight of destiny. This is your release. This is your realignment. What comes next is the fulfillment of every quiet prayer spoken through tears and every silent hope you refuse to abandon. Walk forward with courage. Heaven is already in motion. Before you move on, let your spirit absorb this truth. Your pause has ended, and your divine alignment has begun. Type "I claim my release" in the comments if your spirit feels this truth rising within you. Blessing code 6006 has now been released. Now, before this journey ends, lift your voice, like, share, comment, subscribe, and let this message reach those whose spirits are waiting for the same awakening. Heaven is sending out a call for those who carry the fire of alignment to stand with this mission. When you support this work, you are not giving to a platform. You are fueling the awakening of souls whose timelines are waiting for divine intervention. God declares, "I open the storehouses over those who strengthen my voice." And today that promise becomes personal, alive, and directed toward you. I tell you this with sincerity. I invite you to lift this message with your own hands. For every seed you release becomes a spark that ignites transformation in lives you may never meet. Just as heaven paused the universe waiting for your action, heaven moves when you respond to divine purpose. Whether through super thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description, your offering becomes a prophetic act that aligns your life with breakthrough, clarity, and open doors. I bless every giver with acceleration that cannot be hindered and alignment that cannot be denied. Now rise boldly. Heaven is watching for those who act in faith.